You are listening to Kate and Company. I am Caitlin O'Connor, a local real estate agent here in Rochester, New York. And in this podcast, we are not just talking real estate, but also about life and entrepreneurship. It's going to get personal. This podcast is brought to you by Premium Mortgage Corporation. Premium Mortgage is one of Rochester's leading mortgage lenders and voted the #1 fastest growing company in Rochester in 2021. They are experts in home financing. Personal, professional, and local expertise is what you get when working with Premium Mortgage. As a mortgage lender, their #1 goal is for every customer to feel comfortable, informed, and well taken care of. After all, a mortgage isn't just a transaction, it's a partnership for life. As a local real estate agent, there is nobody I trust more with my clients than Premium Mortgage. Today, I am interviewing an incredibly impactful and influential woman in the Rochester community. A philanthropist and avid volunteer, she has dedicated herself to local organizations and nonprofits. One of her superpowers is supporting women and is currently serving on the board of directors for the Rochester Women's Council. Her achievements have led her to be honored as one of Rochester's Women of Excellence this year, previously named as Rochester's 40 Under 40, and most recently nominated for an Athena Leadership Award in Ontario County. Outside of her professional and philanthropic efforts, she spends time traveling, festival hopping, and finding the best local food with her husband Bill and their dogs Ollie and Max. Last year, I was lucky enough to help them settle into their gorgeous new home in the Browncroft Historic District, and I'm so grateful she's here with me today. Say hello to Alyssa Belasco.
Hello.
Hi. How are you? Thanks for being here with me today.
Thanks for
Cheers.
having me. Cheers.
I love it. Thanks to Hill and Valley Creative for hosting us. This is their new location, so it's exciting to be here.
Big fan of the new space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where'd you come from today?
Up the road.
Oh, so
I
you came
worked from home today. Yeah.
So nice.
I wasn't planning on it, but I just figured keep it in Rochester versus driving out to Canandaigua.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm so excited that you're here.
That intro, I definitely have some imposter syndrome just like listening to
Really?
it. And yeah.
I have imposter syndrome, like just being here, like on a podcast. When I was driving here, I'm like, wow, I'm interviewing Alyssa on this podcast today, and I'm like, I feel like I wouldn't have done this because I always say when I thought about doing this podcast, I thought of a few people that I had wanted to interview, and you were one of the first people on my list because of all of the ways that you've impacted me and have been an influence to me. So starting like a very long time ago. So I'm like, any charity that I've ever donated to, it's probably because I found it through you.
So I'm being a good advocate. That's great. I love it.
I mean, we have a lot of fun times.
Yeah.
We've drank a lot of wine. We've spent time at like the Arlington wine tours. Yeah.
Book club.
A lot of fun times, but most recently, more productive things.
Right. Very much so.
Very
yeah.
much. But we just celebrated your 40th birthday.
We did.
Yeah.
It was nice to have people over to the house for the first time.
Yep.
You know.
Max and I really got along.
Sure did. Sure did.
Max was like my boyfriend of the night.
I mean, you looked really good, but so good that we had to change your outfit so that you looked less appealing because he was...
Yeah. Wait, so I turned on, what did I put on?
Pair of my sweatpants.
And t-shirt.
And a t-shirt that read just the tip.
Yeah.
It was for a fundraiser that's what the t-shirt was originally from. And I was like, what would be the least attractive attire? This outfit right here.
Well, and I feel like that t-shirt is totally a t-shirt that you would have for some reason, not because you're any sexual like being, but for me to walk around your 40th birthday with a t-shirt on that says like just the tip, I'm like, okay, this is very fitting.
Yeah.
That was really fun. When I woke up in the morning, I think that I even forgot that even happened. I mean, I remembered Max. I wasn't going to forget Max.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
He really left his mark on it the whole night.
Yeah. I haven't been mounted like that. Just kidding.
And for those listening, Max is 105-pound yellow lab.
Yeah.
So
and he's probably as tall as me when he
Yes,
jumps up on my
for
shoulder.
sure.
So
For sure.
we had a lot of fun that night.
Yeah.
That was really fun.
did.
But I was really glad that we were able to like spend time in your house.
Yeah.
And since you bought it last year,
Yep.
you've done a lot to it, and it's so
Right.
cozy.
Yeah.
It's
I will say I do miss house hunting with you.
Yeah, we had some fun times.
We had some fun times, and I mean, I'm not looking, but anytime somebody wants a ride along for a house.
Or you could just come with me.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, because it was a lot of fun.
I feel like one of the best houses, or not best houses, but one of the most memorable houses that we looked at was the one with like the weird cots upstairs in the bedroom.
Yeah, and there was also a lot of like old family photos, and I think that's the one where we learned that the same family had lived in it since it was built in the early 1900s. So it was like the history of the family. It was a lot.
Did
like
anybody
creepy
sleep
photos.
in those cots?
Yeah, that
was really weird. It looked like they had been like hiding children in there.
It was like in the attic area. Yeah.
Yeah, that was it was awkward.
Yep.
Yeah. We had some fun times. Yeah. That was great. But you guys are settled in your house. You've been settled in there for about a year now. Actually, just turned a year. So that's so cool.
Yeah.
And you're doing a lot right now. You are, so as I had mentioned when I was introducing you, so this past year you were nominated for the Rochester, one of the nominees or awards of the Rochester Women of Excellence.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you have a lot of awards.
I'm usually the nominator, though. I'm like always the nominator, never the nominee. So it feels weird to be in this space and kind of having it all happening at once. Like, it just seems like a lot.
But you've spent a lot of your life. I mean, just at least since I've known you, you've spent so much of your time donating your time, your efforts, and you've always been supporting some type of like charity or nonprofit or some type of organization. You always have.
Yeah, I don't know where that comes from, to be honest. It just feels good to weave that into everyday life.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to an event or something social, like let's make sure there's a charitable component. I mean, that's not a prerequisite by any means, but just weaving that in. Or I'm going to get some women together. Let's, my annual ornament exchange that I used to do.
Oh, yeah.
Where, I'd be like, bring a box of tampons or something. We're going to have a collection for some organization. So just being able to weave that giving back into everyday life. It doesn't need to be a big production. There's small things that you can do to make a difference.
Most recently, I feel 100 Women Who Care. I had texted you earlier, or I think it was last night, and I'm like, the sustainable giving. I kind of joke and I call this foundation or nonprofit. I call it like the Shark Tank for charities, local charities.
Yep.
So
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, I was like, it's the Shark Tank for local charities, but being able to, I feel like when everybody wants to give back, they don't really know what to do, or I mean, we have certain things that sit on our heart, but tell us a little bit about 100 Women Who Care, because I'm so grateful to be a part of it.
Sure. Yeah. So I guess I didn't realize that there's so many people that don't know where to start with giving back. And so 100 Women Who Care is a national or international model where it's a giving circle. So you find 100 women, they give $100 a quarter, and that equals 10 grand a quarter that you're giving to an organization. And so I'm one of the founding members. I'm very grateful for Holly Budd, who brought it to Rochester, the concept. And we developed operating principles and just really that process so that it's fair and just very turnkey. It doesn't involve a lot of volunteer time, but together we kind of reached out to our networks to bring in women that wanted to give back financially, but also be a part of that process of deciding where that money would go. Mm-hmm. So we kicked off, I think our first meeting was March 2020.
Yeah.
And
St. John
it was
Fisher,
in
right?
person.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the world shut down. So we were able to make that continue through Zoom, which is, again, not ideal, but it actually works for women because you've got so much going on. So if you can take an hour of your day to log on, quarterly and be part of this Zoom where we're hearing from organizations that have been nominated. So members basically nominate an organization if they want to. That's not a requirement. And then we learn about them and we choose who will get that funding for the quarter.
And everybody gets to vote on
Everyone
that.
gets to vote.
Yeah.
So just being part of that process, for so many women, they don't know about these organizations. Why would you, unless you truly needed them? And we're fortunate that we don't. So being able to learn more about it,
them or is running it,
or worked for, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just a great entry point and into philanthropy, and it's $400 a year. That might seem like a lot, but when you really break it down, it's
$100 every
$100 a quarter. So it's really
3 months, every 3 months. I can't do math. I thought it was so cool when we went to St. John Fisher. It was like, okay, everybody take their seats. They were great hosts. The entire group was, but everyone took their seats, and the 4 charities, they literally had 5 minutes to present their charity. So a representative from each individual charity
and they have to be a member.
And they have to be a member.
They're not necessarily someone working for the organization. They might be a board member or just someone who
the member represents that particular charity. Yeah. So they came up and they're presenting. Okay, next presentation. The next one came up and they each had 5 minutes. And when their 5 minutes was over, I think it was maybe Holly who was the moderator. She's like,
done.
Your 5 minutes is up. Please sit down. And then when it was all over, we're all like, okay, who do we vote on? And it's like Shark Tank. Yeah. It really is. And it's really cool. But, and it's probably nerve-wracking for whoever's presenting.
I don't wish that on anyone.
But when your heart is in the right place and you really are, I would be so nervous to present.
Because you continue to nominate organizations, which I think is great.
Yeah. And
unfortunately, yours hasn't been selected yet, but I love that.
Yeah, but that's okay.
You do that.
And you know what? And also I think that there was a few stipulations that didn't lie within what it needs to be. However, I'm like, why don't I ever just post and say, hey, what's your favorite local nonprofit, organization that needs to be supported? Because it's a huge thing. I mean, we were up to wasn't it $20,000 one quarter?
Yeah.
I think it was the first one that we did.
Yeah, because we are fortunate to be, we're not only 100 women who care, we're 100 plus women who care. So whatever money comes in that quarter from members is what we're giving away.
Yeah,
so,
which is awesome.
And it's a no stipulations grant, which I love. A lot of grants have a lot of rules tied to them, and you have to show that you've done X, Y, and Z. And for some of these smaller organizations, it might be one person running the show. So being able to say, here's your 12 grand, make something great happen with this. And then they come back the next month or the next quarter and they tell us what they've done with it, which is great.
Yeah. So 100 Women Who Care is really a great way to get involved and to learn about local charities.
For sure.
Which is what you've done for many years now, and ultimately what has led you to where, not ultimately, but one of the main things that has led you to, I kind of not joked, but I was like, you have a lot of awards now. You've done amazing over the past few years, and but hard work pays off. So, you deserve to be noticed in
Thanks.
this way.
It's hard for me to take that in. Again, I don't know if that's the imposter syndrome or what, but it's hard to I don't know. I'm always also wanting to celebrate other people, and I don't really like the attention so much. I'm not afraid of it, but it's just, I don't know. I like to be the person celebrating somebody else.
Yeah, me too. I love that too. And Bill's super supportive too.
He's the best.
He is the best. And when you have somebody that's really supportive of you, it kind of catapults you, I feel in a different way. Yeah, a different part of you.
He's always he's an introvert, and so he's like, tell me where I need to be.
He's a really funny
Tell introvert. Me if you need me to be part of this or not, what do I need to do? And so I recognize that. I thrive off of being in social settings where he's just like, I'm going to save it up for when you really need me. And then he brings it.
Does he need to know exactly what the situation is before he goes into it? Or does he need to know what to expect?
He usually needs kind of a rundown of what to expect. And then we have this mutual kind of, I usually introduce people even if I know they might have already met somewhere, because I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable with not remembering a name or not remembering that they've met the person. And he just kind of gives me the eyes, and I know, like, he's like, have I met this person already? And so I just don't want any of that awkwardness.
What do you do when you forget somebody's name, but you know that you know them and you need to introduce them to Bill?
So I usually,
because that happens to me all the time.
I'm really good with names to a creepy level, like, and people are like, have we met? And I'm like, yes, we met, and this is where we met, and I know what you do. And I realize that's creepy, but as I'm getting older, I'm a little more forgetful, so I'm not someone that uses the word like hun or anything that.
That's like no. And why do so many women do that now? And it's not women. I feel like it's like maybe up to 30.
Younger generation.
And I don't want to put a age on it, but
no.
No. Like, it's not calling women hun or girls or whatever. Yeah. No, it's not okay.
It's very uncomfortable for me, but I would say that the way if I don't remember somebody's name, sometimes I still go in for a hug. Or if I'm not sure if I have met the person before, because maybe it was in a big group setting, I always say it's great to see you. Yeah. And I sometimes notice people will do like a flinch, like, have I met this person before? I'm just playing it safe.
Yeah,
because you go to a lot of different
right now, like fundraisers and functions. Yeah. So. Yeah. Wait, so you see them do like a nudge, like to somebody else, like, do I know her?
To themselves. Like,
oh, yeah.
Like, I noticed like a little, like,
oh my gosh, you noticed her? like a twitch.
Yeah. Like I said,
that's amazing. Well, I'll just say, if I'm like with Aaron and I'm like, and I don't know their name, I just say, hi, this is my husband, Aaron.
You do. Now that you say that, I recognize that you do that.
And so, and I'm hoping and praying that this person
introduces themselves.
Hi, I'm John.
Yep.
Yep. John, see? It's my husband, Aaron. And it happens all the time. And I don't know why. I have like an elephant memory for the like littlest, the dumbest things. I can remember somebody from 20 years ago and their name and exactly where I met them or what I was doing or what I was wearing when I met somebody. But today, I don't.
I think that's aging.
Yeah, maybe.
I actually have... Like, some of the things I remember are the back of a tube of Crest toothpaste, the, like, warning disclaimer. My mom, when I was a kid, she said, when you're sitting on the toilet and you can't go, she would say, reading helps. And so I would read the back of the Crest tube. Crest has been shown to be an effective decay preventive dentifrice that can be of significant value when used in a conscientiously applied program of oral hygiene and regular professional care. Thank you.
Were you constipated a lot when you
were younger? Now that you say that, maybe that's...
This is a really fun
undiagnosed GI issues at the time, maybe. I don't know.
That's not sure. That's really cool. I don't remember anything like that.
But
I think I have a learning disability.
But why can't I make room in my brain for something else other than the Crest
The back tube. Of a Crest tube. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. That's pretty cool.
But you weren't expecting that one on the
I
podcast.
was not expecting that. And it was a fact. I'm like, I always learn things about people when you're sitting down with them, no matter how long that you know them. Now I know that you know the back of a Crest tube by heart. Yep. That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Well, so you guys, Bill's like, you have to give him the heads up, let him know exactly what the situation is. And Aaron's kind of the same way. And he asks me a lot of questions, but not like they're purposeful questions before we go to do something. But sometimes I just don't know and I don't personally care. But now I'm starting to like recognize like, no, it is important to somebody else to be prepared for whatever situation, not because they're worried about it, but because they just want to know.
Yep.
Yeah, which is like super important. Yeah. But so 100 Women Who Care, kind of to go back to that, like the sustainable, like contributing, or what's the word for it?
Sustained giving.
Sustained giving. I think that's a great way for people to get involved.
Sure.
And that was one thing I really wanted to like for everybody to hear about, because that's how I contribute. It makes me feel good as a mom. and I work, I have a business, and I'm just busy. So I feel really good that I can give back to something that's purposeful. And you introduced me to that. So I'm pretty grateful for that. And there's a lot of other things that you do right now. And so you're also the executive director of the New York Kitchen.
Yes.
So you've done a lot. I was reading about what you did for them during COVID, which is unbelievable. So how you were able to take, so talk
it's
to...
not ideal to start a new job during a pandemic, but sure, went there. I was working for myself before I started at New York Kitchen, supporting small nonprofits and small businesses, I should say, and nonprofits, and with marketing, fundraising, development, that sort of thing. And then the job found me, which happens pretty much most of my career was that case. A role found me. Our board president reached out to her network and said, who knows someone that loves food, wine, supporting local, and how to run a nonprofit. And my name was mentioned multiple times, and kind of the rest is history. And so, so I started July 2020. So I've been there a little over 2 years. And we restructured as an organization during that time. There's a restaurant in the building. People have private events. You got married there.
Yeah, I got married there. And by the way, it was unbelievable.
So that's a shout out to our food and beverage partner because we now outsource that.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. So
and Liz was the manager there?
Allison,
I'm so sorry.
So she's the event manager.
Yeah.
But we let them do what they do best so that we can do the educational piece, which is our cooking classes, our wine education, craft beverage education, our tasting room. It's an all New York State tasting room.
We have one of the wines here today from Red Newt Cellars.
Yeah. So
Cab Franc, it's really good.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's very good.
And just being able to support local and promote how important it is to celebrate what New York State has to offer. Yeah. There's a lot more of a trickle-down effect when you're supporting those local businesses and producers. So we have our junior chef camp. That's also a component that we do. But we had to relook at how we were putting things out there during the pandemic. We started doing virtual classes. When I came on board, I had already been, got a past time during the pandemic. So I had been doing virtual wine tastings, cooking classes with places that were in other states. And I was like, why aren't we doing that?
Yeah, you had a woman who was on, she was on Cupcake Wars, right?
Yes.
And she did a cupcake decorating. That's so cute.
Yeah. So I was doing those classes and I was like, we need to be bringing these to people. And we had this janky setup in the beginning, but on the other side of the screen, you don't know what we're working with. We've since invested and really upped our technology, but we were able to connect with people all over the country and sometimes in other countries.
That's amazing. And they credit you for that. Yeah,
and I was like it just seemed simple to do that. But the biggest thing that I loved out of the virtual classes was witnessing family members that would say, I'm buying a ticket, I'm buying you a ticket. We're going to cook together virtually through this New York Kitchen class. So it's like you're taking a class together, but separate.
Yeah, that's so neat. That's really neat.
It was a lot of fun.
And they said that they had one of their best financial years, which they were not expecting.
Right. We are in a great place financially as far as, just not a well-oiled machine because we obviously want to keep creative with the programming, but people are coming back out and we're meeting the demand. So it's a lot of fun. I'm probably going to be doing a virtual class on Tuesday, and then I'm looking at another in-person class personally that I'm taking on Saturday. And it's just because it's something I love. It was always, Bill and I are kind of our gifts that we would give to each other. We prefer experiences over stuff because we don't really need stuff. I did buy him a pizza oven though for his 40th, but just, I don't know. I just feel like rich experiences are better than having material things.
Yeah, they are. And we did, for Kristen McCarville's 40th, we did a, was it her 40th? No.
It was her 40th.
It was her 40th, yeah. But We did a cooking class with like 25 people or more at the New York Kitchen. That was a shit show.
It was a shit show.
Everybody was drunk in the room.
But I loved that it was a shit show. And then there was Aaron, who somehow got one-on-one time with one of the chefs, who's teaching him how to make all of these different pastas from scratch that weren't even part of the menu.
Is it called fusilli?
Yeah. And so it's like everybody's loose, and Aaron probably was too, but he's in the corner with the chef one-on-one doing, and you're just like, wine.
I'm doing this.
Yeah. And I had done the same thing.
Show me what you're doing over here.
Yep. I left Bill, and he kept giving me the eyes like, are you serious? You're not even going to help me make this meal?
Right.
And
we're socializing.
No, I'm like, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Aaron was I was really into it too. And then like after maybe 45 minutes, the drinks are flowing and but it was such a great meal. Yeah. And in the teachers in there, the chef instructors. I'm just not good with my words today.
Of saints.
I need to maybe do my podcast at like, I don't know, maybe like 1:00 in the afternoon.
You need more wine.
Need more wine. Yeah, but the instructors, they were so fantastic. Like they came around and they showed us like the right things, like how to cut an onion and how to do this. I still cut an onion the same way that I was taught at the New York Kitchen. So we all ate. Yeah. So we drank. We ate. Everybody had a lot of fun. Yeah. It was somebody would like. I think someone went off the train tracks a little bit. Probably one or two people, but that was really fun. And then we went back to the lake house and we had a great night. That was really cool. So we have lots of memories at the New York Kitchen, starting with Aaron and I getting married there. So it's definitely worth like a little trip for the weekend because you can stay at the lake house. Yep. Even this winter, their pool is open overnight. Or overnight, throughout the winter, and their hot tub is open. Yep. So you could do a cooking class at the New York Kitchen, have a good time, go back to the lake house, have drinks in their foyer. They have live music. There's so much to do.
Yep. So and you don't even have to get in a car.
Yeah,
you literally walk across the parking lot. We have a great partnership with the lake house, and it's a great staycation option to do. Go to our tasting room where you can try a variety of not only just wine, but beers from all over New York State without having to do the wine tour. Yeah. Which do it there. Bill and I do that ourselves. We'll just drive the two of us and go. And you do it. You guys do that too, where you'll just hit up a bunch of places. But so many people have like New York State wine as being sweet in their head. Wine tour of being on a bus where it's a complete shit show. You picture that. That's not what New York State is anymore. People still do that, but the New York's putting out some great, delicious wines, not just Riesling, which some of the Rieslings are delicious, but this Cab Franc, delicious. There's a lot of good stuff.
New York State trying to introduce people to that. Like Living Roots, their Cab Franc is amazing. Yep. Red Newt, this is the first Cab Franc. I don't think that I've had their Cab Franc, but it's very good.
Usually with Red Newt, they're known for their Rieslings, so that's typically what people have.
Yeah.
The winemaker is actually just like an awesome, he's just so talented, Kelby Russell. And so we went there, I want to say this, just like a few months ago, we went and we ended up buying a lot.
Wait, when you were moving.
Oh, yeah.
When you were moving, there was a lot of wine that you needed to like move.
Boxes of wine.
I remember like going down in your basement and there's like a back room of like cases.
We forgot how much we had.
And cases of wine and beer. I'm like, wow, there's a lot.
Yeah.
But,
And he just, Bill calls it the cellar. It's the basement. It's not like we have.
But it is like a cellar. But at least it was like, it was like a cedar type room. There was cedar in the room.
Yeah, it came with the house though. We didn't, it wasn't intentional.
Cedar in the room.
Yeah, so a tie between Red Newt and New York Kitchen, though. So when I first started, Bill is like he's just like a great cheerleader for me. He supports everything that I do. So
I love Bill.
We were doing our virtual fundraiser. And so there's a silent auction, and he goes nuts with the silent auction. So he wins.
Aaron was going nuts over the silent auction, too. Bet on the Boca Raton. We want that vacation. I'm like, there's a lot of other rich people that are going to outbid us, but okay, we can try.
You're not going to get a deal on that one.
Yeah, we can try.
So he bids and wins this giant, I don't even know if it was a Magnum. It was like this massive bottle of Red Newt. I think it was like a Pinot Gris or something. And it just was, the bottle was on display in our house for a while. Like I had to actually dust it. And then something flipped a switch and he decided to drink it.
On his own?
On his own. So I think he said, I'm opening the bottle of Red Newt. And I came home and he consumed the whole thing. And I don't know how many bottles this is, but it was multiple.
He needed it,
and
apparently.
he didn't even seem like fazed by it. And my biggest thing was I didn't even get a glass.
Really?
You didn't save me any.
Was this like at night? Were you somewhere?
I think I had to work late or I was at an event or something. And he's just like, yeah, I finished the bottle of Red Newt. And I was like, no, you opened it.
Like
drank
a
the entire
bottle
thing.
like that
no,
big?
This thing was...
Shut the fuck up.
I'm not lying. It was huge. And so when we went there over the summer, we tried to find a replacement bottle. They do sell those massive bottles, but they didn't have the one that we had. Because I was like, can I at least try it here? And they were like, we don't know what you're talking about. And I told them the whole story, and they were like,
sorry.
Still can't pinpoint what wine you had, but... So we bought a bunch.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you can, like, hold that against him for a while, that he did that.
He does replenish the stock really regularly. He, like, things that he likes to do for fun is just, like, wander around Century Liquor in Pittsford. I'm more of a Pinnacle Liquor in Brighton person.
Where's Pinnacle?
Pinnacle's on Monroe Ave.
Okay, yeah.
They're awesome. I mean, Century's great, too. But
Are they near Max's Chop House? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
They just have so much good stuff, and the staff's always knowledgeable. Not saying Century isn't, but, like, I've tried to say, hey, could you support Pinnacle?
Right.
And so now he's actually, he doesn't need to support them because I do it enough. So
Yeah.
we
What are you
support
starting
the
to?
local liquor stores, I guess you could say.
I mean, we do.
Pinnacle allows you to order online, and I'm somehow got on a text message thing where we've got this special, or we've got this, and I've placed multiple orders, forget to
From
pick
their
up,
text messages?
and then I forget, to pick them up, and so
Do they call you to remind you?
well, when I've gone, they're like, we were almost gonna call you, and I was like, and they're like, you have a couple of orders to pick up because I just order and then I leave them there, and then it's like a surprise when I get them, and Bill's like, so. It's
You
not a
order when
gift.
you're
It's not a
drinking?
gift.
Because I do that with Amazon. It's like you
Yeah.
order shit when you're like,
Yeah.
you know, when you're a little sitting on the couch, you've had some wine, and you're just ordering shit, and then
Yep.
fuck.
Yep. And that's what Bill also says, that when I get excited when a package comes, and he's like, this is not a gift. You ordered it and paid for it, and then you forgot that you did that, and then you got surprised that it arrived. And I'm like, yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's
Except
been
for,
times
like,
I
that's
didn't
what my kids
even
do.
remember ordering.
They get excited that something's at the front door, and they didn't even need to order it, and it's for me.
Yeah.
And they're like, we got something! We got something! And they literally, I'm pulling up to the house, and I'm going to, like, pull in the driveway, and they're, like, fucking pulling themselves out of their car seats. Like, thank God we have child locks, because I'm quite sure would be, like, jumping out of the back seat of the car.
They don't get disappointed that when they find out it's not
No, they don't
for
even
them?
care.
Okay.
They are so excited. They like emptying the grocery bags when I get Instacart delivered, and they literally both jump up on the island, like,
to see what's in the
just
bag?
to start taking groceries
Wow.
out. They just like unraveling or unpacking
Yeah.
or unraveling like a box, and that like makes their entire day.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you could just put tissue paper in a box,
wish
and
that
they're like completely fine
Things
with
like
it.
that got me excited. I'm kind of jealous there. So yeah.
They love it. I mean, they love it. But yeah, that's so. Oh my God, that's so funny. We all do the same type of stuff, you know. Yeah. So one other thing that I wanted to talk about, but you've been doing a lot of things lately, like, you know, 100 Women Who Care, especially with the New York Kitchen. You guys have moved. You've had a very busy year. But you've also had a little bit of a tough year as well. And it's like, actually, I've hesitated bringing this up because it's not my friend, and I don't want to right now.
Yeah.
But there's so much where I remember you've had a tough year. Yeah. And so you had a loss this year.
Yep.
But what you have shown and how you have like exemplified women and the things that you've done after this loss have been
Sure.
something that not a lot of people could do.
Right.
I'm sweating.
No, I know. And I'm like, I just like clicked back to, so I flashed back to when we were house hunting, and it was still too early to tell people that I was pregnant. And I don't know if I made a face or something, and you like started crying, and you were so excited. You were crying because you were so excited for me, and that we were house hunting for like a home for our family. And so having that pregnancy turn out to be a loss, and not just a loss. I know those things happen every day, but for us, I was diagnosed with preeclampsia and HELLP syndrome, which I had heard of preeclampsia almost only exclusively because a couple people that I knew had it at the end of their pregnancy. So that's
what I've always known it as. And
so they have this happen. They have to deliver right away because that's the only way to stop what's happening with your blood pressure is to deliver. And then they have a happy family and everything goes back to normal for them. That wasn't the case with me because this doesn't happen until your second trimester. So 20 weeks, I wasn't feeling well, and just headaches was the start. And you were calling your doctors.
And this is why, like, I feel like not a lot of women.
You got to listen to your body. Yeah. And that's one of the things that's really maddening to me is that I thought, am I being like this overly dramatic pregnant person?
Right.
For my feet were swelling to unbearable points where I had to keep them elevated. How are you supposed to work while you're keeping your feet elevated? The headaches were really bad. And then the last piece that kind of like finalized like something's really wrong was the indigestion. And so.
But all of those things separate aside from the feet swelling, like, or your feet do swell, but yours were, I remember like
it was like
one of those days, but like some things can be a sign of like what we kind of quote unquote like think are normal reactions in pregnancy.
And that's what they told me when I called. They were like, "Oh, that's normal pregnancy stuff." And I'm thinking, "Okay, I'm tough. If people are dealing with, I know some people that are like, I loved being pregnant." And I'm like, "Okay, well, we're living different lives here." But I was calling and they're like, "You're dehydrated. That's what the headaches are, the swelling." And so I drank Pedialyte exclusively for like a week straight and not helping. I mean, that was normally like, I'm hungover, I'm drinking some Pedialyte.
Yeah, and it wasn't actually like you because you were actually saying, I remember when like this is
weeks. This went on for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and we would be talking and you would say, you're not a complainer.
No.
Like, that's not you, and you don't, like, really share a lot, like, that way, and you would actually say, like, I'm not feeling well today.
Right.
And I'm not feeling great. And I was like, that's kind of, like, not really like her.
I mean, I missed a few days of work just calling in. I was like, normally it could work from home, and I was like, no, something's not right. Like, I need to rest. I need to take some time off, and it wasn't getting better. And so finally the doctor brought me in. And as soon as they took my blood pressure, it was 177 over, I don't remember what over something that was high.
Yeah.
And they kept taking it just to make sure, and it just kept spiking. And she said, I need you to drive yourself straight to the hospital. And even then, I didn't take things seriously, that like there was something seriously wrong. I thought, oh, they're going to maybe give me some fluids through IV, or not really sure what was even happening because preeclampsia isn't something that was really discussed at that point.
No, and by the way,
gave me your What to Expect When You're Expecting book. So anytime something really happened, I would kind of use it as a reference tool. Yeah. I didn't read it cover to cover.
By the way, I didn't even know, like when we talked the other day, I'm like, I didn't know when I was going in, they would take my blood pressure, check my heart.
Yeah.
It was like a routine thing. But nobody ever says in the doctor's office, hey, you know what? When you have your first prenatal appointment, and you go in and they're like, okay, we need you to pee in a cup.
Yep.
Here's why you're peeing in a cup, and these are the things that we look for and what's important.
Yeah.
We're going to take your blood pressure. Here's why your blood pressure is so important during pregnancy. See,
I need a little more wine because I'm like,
It's like, but nobody ever, they don't say that. Like doctors, they just, and by the way, this isn't like a thing against doctors or nurses or anything like that, but it's just like, this is like their thank you. This is their routine. But as women, we need to be more of an advocate for ourselves, and educate ourselves and understand why those things are done in prenatal appointments.
Right.
Because I would have never known otherwise.
Didn't know. So I went to Rochester or RGH, and that's when and Bill came, and we're wearing masks because we're in a hospital. And I could just tell in his eyes, like he understood what was happening because of the type of law that he practices, medical malpractice, representing the doctor. So he's seen some of that. He had some of that knowledge where I didn't.
That's a scary situation.
So it was not, right?
Eyes, yeah.
And I just knew something wasn't right. So, they test your protein. They look for protein in your urine. That's why you're giving a urine sample. And so they're testing those things, and they're running all these blood tests. And so they told me what happened, and I still didn't know that. It's kind of like, so what does this mean?
And what did they tell you?
So HELP syndrome means, it stands for hemolysis, which I think is, I'm no doctor.
Yeah.
Kidney related, elevated liver enzymes maybe is the EL, or anyways, we don't need to go through the acronym.
Right.
And then like a low platelet count. And so basically your body's kind of failing. And the only way to stop that from happening, and your blood pressure, my blood pressure was at stroke levels. They're surprised I didn't have seizures.
So you had preeclampsia
and HELP syndrome, which is, and it's very rare to have it in general, but at 23 weeks pregnant, which is what I was. And so they actually transferred me to Strong Hospital because they were better prepared to deal with this. And that's when we had to have some tough conversations. And I was induced, and a day later I wouldn't say welcomed, but I had our daughter Willa. So she was 23 weeks, and she was stillborn, so there's no heartbeat. She was not born with a heartbeat, and I felt like it was like an out-of-body experience. The hospital and the staff, their bedside manner in a loss situation, I can't thank them enough, which seems weird to be thankful for something in that moment, but they were really incredible. And so we don't have memories with her, and I'm really fortunate for just some of the practices that the hospital has. They provide you a bereavement box. There might have been some stuff that, like, I think there's information in there too, but what was valuable for me were pictures that they took of her. I did get to hold her. We held her. My mom, my father-in-law, and Kristen, best friend, were able to come in. The hospital was a little lenient on COVID protocol, given our situation. So they got to hold her. I didn't think I want to take a picture of her with my cell phone. Like, those are things you think of after the fact. And it all kind of happened so fast. So they gave us pictures, the blanket that we got to hold her, that she was wrapped in when we held her. And the pictures they took, they put her in a little dress. It was red flowers, which I didn't say red's my favorite color.
Oh my gosh, isn't that so funny? You're like, everybody says that I look good in red.
Yeah,
and your dress
I said that
red.
when I got here. And so, and it was just, it was a special thing. Her footprints. And then they provided just like a little ring, which is actually in some of the pictures that they gave us of her, that I have on a bracelet that's welded on my wrist so that it can't come off. It's called a forever bracelet. So we got to hold her, and then they brought her back for just some intimate time with us if we chose to. And so we spent some time with her, and then you say goodbye. So having those things was very special to me. And, I'm just, I guess, grateful.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just I appreciate you sharing.
No one talks about that.
Nobody talks about it. And I remember when you were going through it, it was painful for me, and as an outsider, it was painful for a lot of people. And I think, I remember feeling angry, and my anger came from a place of, wow, women, they need to be educated. Like, I wouldn't know if now there's so much more. I told you a story about how I had saw another woman, and I wanted to go up to her and say, you need to go see somebody right away. Not because I'm no doctor, but there was just something that I had noticed that seemed very similar to what you were experiencing.
You're hyper aware to that now.
Yeah, and it's like, and so I just think it's like, I just felt like there needs to be more education. And I'm like, what about women that don't have prenatal care? And it just became, it was like all these emotions came through me, and I'm like, we
have to do better.
We have to do better. Yeah. And I think the biggest part of it, where the first part of helping any other woman is, if they listen to this today, and, I know it took us a little bit, but I didn't know naturally if we were going to get here, and I didn't know if I wanted to get here, to be honest with you. I was putting it off because I didn't feel comfortable.
Right. Sorry.
No, I know. I just didn't feel comfortable. This is a podcast. This is your life. This is not about a podcast. Right. But I think that where it's helpful for other women is to hear about what you went through, and to be educated. And through that, you've done a lot of, after Willa, you've done so many things to give back to other women. And
one of the things that was like really, like I hear you with the anger. The anger is part of grief too, but I started to think about women that I was fortunate to have paid time off, to take time off because I wasn't feeling well leading up to our loss. But there's women that would have powered through that because they've got to get that paycheck and put food on the table, or whatever the situation is, and ignore the signs that their body is telling them. And that's maddening to me. And not know they don't know that that something could seriously be wrong. It's a headache. It's some swollen feet. It's some indigestion. These are things that happen. And the mortality rate related to this is not, our statistics are really, really sad.
There's a lot of sad things that are happening right now in the United States that are not allowing.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't need to go there, but
that's a whole nother. We might go on like 2 hours if we do.
It's disgusting to think about.
But women
giving
need to
women choices,
have
here
rights and choices, and keep their bodies safe to protect themselves and the loved ones around them that they're taking care of.
So, what you had mentioned, what we did, we wanted to find ways to honor Willa. So. Since she was born September 14th, every month I try to do something to give back in her honor and in her name. So a couple of examples there are libraries now within some book libraries within hospitals in Western New York, kind of all over now. And you can donate books so that families can read a book to their stillborn baby or whatever the situation. So we donated copies of the book The Invisible String to some of those libraries. That's just one example. There's things, and I try to do something every month. And so I don't say her first birthday, but Willa's Day.
Yeah.
We wanted to do something special, and so I wanted to make sure that those bereavement boxes were something that all families will receive. That there's never a funding challenge where that couldn't happen. So I had a fundraiser. They created like a special Alyssa Belasco Kalish bereavement fund where people could contribute. And in a matter of like 2 weeks, we raised over $6,000. But not only the money, but the conversations that are coming from that. I don't like to talk about my loss, but I like to be open because the stories that have come from that, I mean, my own doctor's office, and I know we're limited for time, so I won't go too deep.
No, that's okay.
They're busy, and so I'm at my primary for a checkup or something after everything had happened, and the nurse comes in and she said, "But a lot has happened since I saw you. You had a baby," and she didn't get to read the notes enough. I said, "We actually lost our baby," and she was like mortified, but from that, she told me, and this woman's in her 60s, about a similar loss at a similar stage of her pregnancy, and that back then it was shameful, and she never got to find out if it was a boy or a girl or grieve that.
Because it was meant at that point of time, it was like kind of
sweep it under the rug and you move on.
And something's wrong with your body as a woman if you can't.
Yep. And she went on to have a beautiful family, but she said that's something that always stuck with her. And I sat there and listened to her, and she like gave me a hug, and I'm crying for her. And I just feel like those conversations, I'm happy to be able to be strong in my situation so that other people can kind of share theirs.
Yeah, maybe she had never been able to talk to somebody like that in that way.
She was very, we hugged. It was a long doctor's appointment for a routine visit. But so we raised funds for the bereavement boxes, but we also brought breakfast and flowers and trying to think what else. It was balsam bagels, totally my jam. To the nurses and the doctors on the unit that I was on Willa's Day, because I wanted to say thank you to them. And it was not as hard as I thought it would be, but I didn't want like any special like meet and greet or anything with them. I brought them something and I left. I'm so grateful to the coordinator with the hospital that allowed me to do that. And then I also brought a gift for a baby girl born on Willa's Day. That was the hardest part of it all, was going shopping for a gift for a happy ending. Sorry, getting a little emotional. And I didn't put my information or anything. I just wanted something to give to somebody so that Willa can be associated with a happy time too. So
you have the biggest heart. You have a very good heart. I know. It's like you didn't want to cry, but I love this because you have the biggest heart. And you're just so strong. You're very strong. And this wasn't meant to be sad either. But how can you not? There's emotion with this. Yeah. It's not. Yeah. It's not. This isn't just like I said. This isn't just a freaking podcast for people to listen to. This is like our story, and what you're sharing with us today is like. It's unbelievable.
I try to, like I said, give back in all things because it's.
But you know that you were built. You were built for. You were not built to lose a child.
No,
nobody is built to lose a child. Nobody's ever built to lose a child. But what's in your blood and what you do in your heart is like everything that makes you you, and it's amazing and it's beautiful. It really is. It really is. And I hope this inspires somebody, like, even if one person listens to this podcast, like, which, hopefully more, but
the bar is very low.
Yeah. But I just hope that somebody can be inspired, whether it's to give in love or just support, because you don't have to have money to do something. No. You can just support. And it's so important in all ways. So I'm very grateful for you being here today.
Thanks.
You're somebody I've always looked up to and all that you do. And I've always felt like I could never keep up with everything that she does because her heart is always in the right place. And I'm like, I wish I had a bigger heart than that. But
you do. You definitely do.
We all do in our own ways. So I'm so grateful for you being here today. And we never end without at least asking a few questions. So and then we'll wrap it up, but thank you.
Thank you.
Tatiana, I always look at her. I'm like, you're still in the same room, so I'm never going to not do it. I
forgot that. So sorry.
I never forget it because I love her to pieces. I'm like, are you going to be there Thursday? I can't wait to see you. But it's always a great story. So we end with a few cool questions and on a much lighter note, but not a lighter note because we don't have to be lighter. This is life. So first question is... I forgot. No, I'm just kidding. What are you most proud of?
Most proud of, I would say, there's a few things, but I think buying it with the real estate theme, since you're a realtor.
And your house appraised in the hottest time of the market.
Yeah.
Sorry, don't mean to interrupt you.
There were a lot of like bonuses with.
There were some bonuses, but your house appraised for $65,000. Was it $65,000 more? No.
The house we moved into.
That you moved into appraised for
higher than what we got it for, which at this market is really unheard of.
Unheard of. Wow. Yeah. It was great. But sorry, go ahead.
No, I think my proudest moment is buying my first home at 24 years old. And it was kind of strange not strange, but one of my best friends, Krista, she bought a house and kind of told me, you can do it. You're actually, you might pay less than your rent at the time.
Yeah.
For your mortgage.
But it is still that way right now.
And so that's what I did. I had a big dog at the time, another big yellow lab, Biggins, who's very legendary. Those who knew Biggins were very, very lucky. And he needed a yard. And I had some real shitty apartments. And so you don't have to have this huge down payment. And I learned that after I bought the house, there were all these first-time home buyer incentives and programs. There were not those in, I think it was 2007 when I bought. And that was a really great investment, especially given that the neighborhood, the North Winton Village, turned out to be a very desirable place. It was then.
It still is.
But it changed, and now it's like, I mean, there's no inventory a lot of the time. So we were fortunate to sell the house at the right time and then buy our forever home, which is in the Browncroft neighborhood, which we had been stalking for years. They do the Browncroft garage sale days. It's every other year. It'll be happening next year. And we were stalking houses at that point. We were stalking the sales. We were like, this looks like somebody might be moving out of this house. Like, keep an eye on it.
Hey, by the way, do you know why I've never deactivated your home search in the MLS? It's because I look at your own search that I had set up for you, and I'm like, I'm not deactivating her home search because I want to still see the houses.
Bill has a real problem with it. I love that we get those emails. Bill still sends me listings.
Oh, yeah, I bet. Bill knew of listings before, like anybody. And he could tell, like, I've already scoped this out. Like, he already knew.
There's a new house on Culver Road. He just sent me this morning.
Me too. I looked at it too. I was like, I didn't need that. But that was your proudest moment. It's like selling your first house that you knew you bought at 40. That you bought at 24 and buying your forever home in the Browncroft.
Right. It was a great investment.
That's a great investment. And it's a beautiful home. It's absolutely. I was so excited to bring Aaron to see your house because I'm like, Aaron, you have to get over here and see their house. Like, because I know you're going to want to buy one over here.
Exactly. That's very strategic.
Very strategic. So that's awesome. So next question is, have you ever shoplifted?
I have. Not to be like, I have. But so I was thinking about this recently, and I was a teenager, and I believe I was with Claudia, who is a mutual.
Yeah, my ex sister. She was my sister-in-law.
Yeah, she was your sister-in-law.
Love her.
Friend of
we
mine.
Spent a lot of. That's how you and I know each other.
Yep. Yeah. So we were at the mall, and I don't really understand how it happened, but I shoplifted a faux Dalmatian, a muff. And I know you're probably like, what's a muff?
A hat?
But like, no. So they had a matching hat. I do think I ended up getting the matching hat, like purchased it. But it's wild. It's a muff is like the hand warmer, like old timey. Usually a fur, I think, in your hand. I don't.
Wait, did you steal it because you thought it was actually the easiest thing to walk out?
Yeah, I don't think I intentionally stole it. I think I put it on and was like, and just walked out with it. And then we made like a pact that we would share it, like have a sisterhood of the traveling muff. I don't really know how we took turns.
We should call Claudia on speakerphone right now and ask her.
Do you remember the Dalmatian muff?
The muff.
The muff. And the fact that it's called a muff, I don't. There's
other things are called.
There's muffs. A lot of things that could come from. If I just left it as I shoplifted a Dalmatian muff, I don't know.
And then you had to share the muff.
And then we had joint custody of the muff.
Oh, so you did actually share it like back and forth.
Mm-hmm. Sure did.
Oh, that's amazing. That's my last question.
Yeah.
I love this. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Wow.
I know it was kind of a roller coaster, so.
No, I know. And I felt really unnatural in how I was like segueing into it because I'm just like, I don't want to sound like opportunistic in how we're having these,
but
how
I
the
think
conversation evolved. But I've learned so much from you for so long. And at every single book club, by the way, like your name comes up because, and I don't want to go on, we're wrapping it up here, but everybody knows like at book club, because probably every 3 or 4 book clubs, right? There's always new women that come. And I think it's important for them to understand like how it evolved because sometimes people think that things come from, oh my gosh, Caitlin, like you developed this massive book club or this big book club and like, where did it come from, right? Or they just think it just happens overnight and it all comes from an idea somewhere, somehow. And I always think it's important that like it's called like rip off and repeat. I heard this like saying the other day.
I've never heard that.
Somebody said this the other day, not necessarily about book club. And being in the real estate industry, you want to come from a place of contribution. So anytime that somebody wants something or needs something, I'm like, have at it. I'd love to share anything with you. But, and so every 3 or 4 book clubs, I'm like, here's how this started. It started from sitting, Alyssa Belasco, she started a book club, and I went to it, and I thought, oh my goodness, like the books that we read create meaningful, purposeful conversations. Right. And I've never felt so accepted for my opinion in the conversations that can come around a table. Right. And it was so great. And by the way, like the ripple effect, and that was the one thing I was happy about that I wrote in that terrible letter that I talked about earlier. But the ripple effect, you have been a huge part of that for the book club now has on the group about 459 women that are part of the open book club on Facebook, that group. And I get messages every single day, all the time, like more and more women, all these women keep inviting other women to be part of it. And every single time there's more women that show up. I've never met before. Some I have met. Some I've known through other people. But like you inspired me to do that from your book club. And now 459 other women are now part of this in some way, shape, or form, whether they show up or not. So cheers to that. And thank you for
I love that.
allowing me to rip off and repeat. Yeah.
You're welcome. I love that. I'm going to rip off and repeat that.
Yeah. So it's cool.